are now listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast, where we help you dad better. And I'm one of your hosts, Mario E. And Kid, what's going on?
Not much, man. Let's get to it.
All right. So today's topic is going to be beauty is only skin deep. Some of y'all might have heard of the Temptation song. That's what we're talking about today. Beauty is only skin deep. Tremaine, start us off.
Yeah. Beauty is only skin deep. This is really like, I feel like it's something that girls need to go know too, but like it's very important for guys to know it. I guess I got a son, so I'm really like looking at it like that because I just know that we're visual. Like we're visual creatures, like us as men, like when we're looking for a mate, a wife, a mother for our children, like first thing we looking at is beauty, man. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, is that how you, I mean, she gotta be pretty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's like when I'm advising him, like, man, I need to tell him, like, okay, I know you gonna, cause like it's like the beauty, it lures you in. And if you're not thinking properly and you ready for what's coming, like you can get sucked in and make some serious mistakes and have like a lifetime commitment that's linked with unhappiness. I mean, that's just real. So yes, I feel like beauty is important. I think any man would be not being totally honest if they said, man, I don't care what she look like. No, I think you care what she look like. It may not be as important as it was when you were, 18, 19, 20, but to me, the most important thing is who is she on the inside? And I look at that like, I was talking to a friend probably last week sometime, and we were talking, and he's got his stuff together. He's a professional. He's, in his career, and he's really looking to get married. And he was just like, man, the dating game out here is just crazy right now. Like, I can't find anybody that's suitable, And I'm telling him, I'm like, he's like, what do I even look? If I'm really trying to find somebody, right? And I'm telling him, and the sad thing was, the first thing that came to mind, I was like, man, you probably need to go look at like a charity event or something like that, right? To find somebody that has something good on the inside that you can work with.
Yeah.
And the reason I said a charity event was because if a girl is there at a charity event, that tells me already that she cares about others.
Yeah.
I think one of the most things that I would hate to have in somebody that I was serious with was that she was selfish, or she only cared about herself, or that she wasn't patient. See, all of that stuff right there, that tells me how good of a mother you're going to be.
Yeah.
So like a personal story with me, when I first met my wife, it was one of the first signs that said, hey, you need to marry her. Ding, 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 ding. You need to marry her. When I went to go visit her, we went to a cookout, and not her grandmother, her great-grandmother was at the cookout. I think her great-grandmother may have been in her late 80s or something like that. And she was given the task to take her home. So we're riding together to take her grandmother home, and I saw her take her grandmother and walk her into the house. I think I might have mentioned this before. And I saw how patient she was. I saw how gentle she was. I saw how caring she was for her grandmother. It wasn't that I'm getting so caught up into being in my early 20s and I can't go over here and do this. I need to hurry up and go over here so we can go, I don't know, go to the club over here or whatever. That wasn't on her mind. Her mind was taking care of her grandmother and doing what she had to do to take care of her grandmother at that point. So that's why I said, like, it's really big for me. And I feel like a lot of guys, that's the main thing you need to be looking for. Is she caring? Is she patient? Does she put others before herself? Because those are the things that when it comes to marriage, you gotta have somebody that can compromise. And I think, like, even with being submissive, and I would tell Jonah this, my son, even with being submissive, I think a lot of times being submissive has a bad rep. That submissiveness means that I'm going to tell you what to do all the time, or that you're my slave, or whatever the case is. That's not submissiveness. You know what I'm saying? Submissiveness is, I say, hey, honey, I got a business idea. This is what I think will be great for our family. And she said, honey, listen to your idea. I think so too. Like, that's more of the way that I look at my wife being submissive to me. Now, with submissiveness comes a lot of power, because the more ideas I bring to her and she goes along with what I say, then the one time that I bring a bad idea and she say, honey, I don't think that's a good idea. That makes me think, okay, she went with everything else that I had before. So if she's saying no right now, that's telling me that this is a terrible idea. And she was saying no all the time, no, 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 no. I wouldn't pay no attention to when she said yes. But by her saying yes so much for things that I felt like was good for our family and letting me lead in my natural role, when she does say, I don't think that's a good idea, I listen. So isn't that power? Oh, yeah. So, that's kind of how I look at it. I have a question that I want to ask you, but I'm not going to ask you right now because I want to know your initial thoughts on what I just said. And then I'll ask the question.
Okay. So yeah, beauty is only skin deep, right? So, you kind of started off with, beauty is important or whatever, visual, folks that we are, being men or whatever. And then, that is definitely true. But I'll say this, as beautiful as my wife is to me, and just in general, because my wife is beautiful, I'm not going to even use a qualifier as to me. I would not be with her if she didn't have the substance of other things. If my wife was a rude person, I still couldn't be with her. If she was, like you said, one of the things you talked about was selfish. If she was that way, if she was just not kind-hearted, no, I couldn't be with that, So to me, and again, it's so tough, I think, to explain to young guys, to young boys, to young men, that it's not always about the looks. Yes, you're going pursuing a woman, you're going to be looking at her. That's the first thing that you see, right? But it can't be the only thing. It can't be the driving. It can't be everything. Looks can't be your everything. There has to be a level of attraction there for sure, absolutely. But it can't be everything. I would think that you would want someone that's going to, like I said, to be kind, that's going to be supportive, that's going to help complete you. Not someone that's just going to be some arm candy, and that's it. No, we don't need that, and I, as a man, and when I was, going on that search for a wife, I was like, man, I don't need all of that. I want somebody that's beautiful for sure, but I want someone that's beautiful on the inside and on the outside.
Yeah.
I think back to one of my favorite movies, Denzel Washington's character, one of my favorite movies that Denzel Washington played in is Training Day. And, he's got it's a really, 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 really small quote in that movie. He was walking by this girl and, she was kind of, all like that or whatever. And so he just kind of dismissed it. And he said, all that jelly and no toast. When he was going to go meet with, his
wow.
baby
I remember
mama.
that quote.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about it like you thought about it.
Yeah. He said all that jelly and no toast. What that told me was that this girl might have had all the voluptuous characteristics that a man might want, all of the beauty and all this stuff, but she didn't have it up here. She didn't have the substance. You think about a piece of toast with some jelly on it. The substance is the bread, okay? The jelly is just the little stuff on the top that just a little extra stuff. So to me, that's what he was saying. That's how I always took that quote. That the girl was, she might have had all this, and for the viewers, for the listeners who can't see me, I'm talking about all the shapes and the curves and, all the beauty, but she didn't have what it takes up top to be someone that he would want to be with. And that's how I always internalize that quote. And for me, seeing that, it's always rung true to me. It's more than just, the hips and the curves or the how pretty, she is. And I'll even be talking to, I would say the same thing to our daughters, to my daughter, just because you think a man is so cute or he's so fine or whatever, if he ain't about nothing, you need to be going in the other direction. You don't need to be giving him your time. You don't need to be doing that, because if he ain't about nothing, if he not about treating you right, respecting your boundaries, all of that, has no ambitions or goals, if he's not, have some type of kind-heartedness about himself or no respect for himself, he's not gonna respect you. So keep it moving. Same thing. I'll tell the same thing to my daughter as I would to my son. Looks on everything. Look can be deceiving, and don't get fooled.
Yeah, and like with our daughters, I feel like that energy that you're telling her to go into the relationship with, right? That energy should be there from the beginning, from the start. You need to have that mentality. I don't believe in starting one way and then saying at the end, oh, I got this standard here, and I got this right here, and I need you to do this here. No, you need to put what you are looking for at the beginning. That needs to be known soon as you meet that person. Look, I ain't about this. I'm not about that. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm not the one. And honestly, when I met my wife, that was one of the first conversations we had. She said, really? I'm not for this. I'm not for that. If that's what you're looking for, then I'm not the one. And I think before me, that would put some of them away. Like, okay, all right. But for me, it was like, yes, that's what I'm looking for. So, you know. That's why I said, like, just be straight up at the beginning on what you want. And I'm not saying have a laundry list of things that you expecting for a man to do. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, your standards, if you got some things that you're standing on, let that be known at the beginning. And if he for it, he for it. If he not, then he not the one. And you can save yourself a whole lot of heartache and a whole lot of drama and all that. You can save yourself from that and don't damage yourself for future relationships.
That's right.
So it kind of brings me to the point. I got a son, you got a daughter. My question to you is, are there, in the climate that we're in, and it seems to me as though, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, any viewers correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that marriage is not the same anymore. it's a lot of people that don't want to get married. A lot of people don't want to be married. That's what I'm saying. Marriage is not the cool thing to do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And in the social climate that we're in, where pretty much men are on this side and women are on this side, and we're acting as if we don't need to be each other, we don't need to form unions with one another. My question to you, with how children are being raised, and this is Dad Rules podcast, so this is why I'm talking about this, because we're raising these kids. Are there going to be suitable husbands and suitable wives for our children? We're raising our children to be married. Are there going to be enough suitable adults when they get older for our kids? I don't think it's something for us to worry about, but I just want to spark conversation with it.
Yeah, so I definitely think the climate that we're in today is very different than how we grew up, when we were, our kids' age or whatever. It's definitely different, right? I do think that some of the challenges that they have with wanting to be married and things like that, we didn't have those same challenges. And it kind of breaks my heart sometimes when I think about it, when I say, man, when I look at some of these females who are out here and they're doing this, they're doing that, or is one of them going to be able to be, have the toast for my son, that he's looking for, right? If I'm going back to the training day example that I was talking about a minute ago. And then I think about the same thing with my daughter, are there any guys out there that are willing to make a commitment, that lifetime commitment, to be able to say, hey, I want to raise a family, and not wait until they're, 45, 50 years old to do so, that will, come and make a life with my daughter, and I kind of think about those things sometimes. But, I have to believe that, societies change and, those social climates change. But there's always going to be somebody who's going to get raised the right way. People are still getting raised the right way. And, I think that's part of the reason why we're here, to continue to kind of push this and say, hey, we got to raise our kids the right way. And so, yeah, but it's going to look very different. I don't know what the statistics are, but I do know that people, it seems to me, this isn't, I don't have the actual facts, but it seems like people get married later and later now. Like they're not getting married right out of high school like they used to, right? I didn't get married right out of high school. I didn't get married. I was 27 when I got married, and, some people now, maybe the average age of getting married now, I don't know what it is, but I'm quite sure it's different than it was 20, 30 years ago. And I think that's part of, the climate we live in, the culture that we have here, that people feel like I've got to accumulate these things before I go and get married.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I think I agree with you. I feel that there will be people for our kids, because I do feel like it's people that value marriage still. I think we have to be realistic with our daughters on what marriage is supposed to be. And I think I talked about this before, not looking at your mother and father's marriage and looking at them and saying, oh, I don't want that kind of marriage, or their marriage wasn't good enough for me. You don't know what your parents got going on.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't know the grounds that they met on. You don't know all that. You weren't here when they met. You didn't see every single thing that they went through in their relationship. You don't know the understanding that they have in their relationship. It's not your job to judge your parents' marriage. And then I use John and Martha from across the street.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your job to look at their marriage and think that their marriage is perfect. So I think we need realistic expectations when it comes to marriage. And I think that's mostly for our daughters. They need that realistic expectation for what marriage is. Coming together, working with each other, building together, finding somebody where they're at. You see where they're at. You have to understand that this person may not change. They may not get better than what they are. They may not get worse than what they are. They may stay the same for the rest of your life. You got to be okay with that when you meet someone. You can't meet someone based off of potential thinking that you can change them and thinking that they're going to get better. You can't go into a relationship like that. So I think we have to be very clear with our daughters with that, because I've seen that more in women. Now, with our sons, I think we're going to have to do more of showing them the benefits of being married. Because right now, looking at marriage, a man goes into marriage. I think a lot of men feel like they're losing everything. When you go into marriage, and I have 2 or 3 kids with this woman, when she leaves, everything I have is split in half. Chances are I'm not going to get custody of our kids. So I'm going to pay child support. And it looks as though that women are benefiting from the separation and the men are not benefiting from the separation.
Yeah, but to me, that's when it becomes important for fathers, as fathers, to explain to our, and in this situation you're talking about, to our sons, that you're not getting into marriage with the intent to leave. You know, just why you have to make sure that that person is the right one for you, you know, to death do us part, as you say in your vows, right? And so you get it into it with the intent that you are staying together, not that, oh, if this doesn't work out, then I lose everything. It's not about losing everything. It's about building that life together. You know, like I said before, you know, a lot of times people may want to, you know, look at what other people have and not see the steps that they took to get there. Well, depending on when you get married or whenever you get married, actually, you know, if you're building together, there's value in that. That's a good thing. And if you're coming in thinking, you know, well, if this doesn't work out, then I lose everything. You can't go into that. You can't go into marriage with that mindset. To me, I would say if you're going in with that mindset, then you're maybe not mature enough to be married yet. You may need to wait a little bit. That's what I would say.
But what I see, and you're a business-minded person, and me and you've had business discussions. Before we enter a business, we count up the cost.
Absolutely, you got to.
You look at the gains, you look at what you could lose. So can you say that these guys that may be in their early 30s that have from their 20s have been trying to build, because pretty much in your 20s, you're trying to figure yourself out. In your 30s, you getting yourself together, and in your 40s, hopefully you can start getting on a good stride, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the foundation that you lay down in your 20s is at risk if the one I pick does not work. And like Martin said on his show, it's cheaper to keep. It's cheaper to keep a damn boy. That's exactly what he said. That's what Otis said on Martin.
Yeah.
I can't blame these brothers for saying, no, I'm going to count up the cost, man. And right now, it doesn't look like it's a benefit. And then two, another benefit for being married is, you know, the possibility of our seed being brought forth in children, our legacy. So that's a benefit as well.
Mm-hmm.
The companionship.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like we have to convince our guys, because a lot of them are getting their legacy and not having that, not having to make that lifetime commitment to the women that they're having the kids with.
Yeah, that's why I go back to, you know, I think it's important, you know, to look at family, look at it from the standpoint of family. You're creating a family. You know, marriage is about starting your own tribe, if you will. You know, you're starting your own family, and there's definitely benefit in that. And, you know, I wouldn't do it any other way. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the age I am now, with nobody, just alone.
And I had a friend that was listening to the podcast, and he talked about how when he grew up, there weren't any male figures for him to look up to or to learn from. It was just women. But where he did find strength and where he did find what I'm supposed to do or how I'm supposed to act as a man was through his coaches.
Mm.
Okay, so a man that had to go outside of his home to find people that can help him, become the man that he has become. I didn't talk to him specifically about that, but I would think that it's an added motivation for him to want his kids to see that male in the home and not have to find it out in the community.
For sure. Yeah.
But and it's a lot of guys too that I've heard that said, well, I didn't have my dad there, so I wanted my kids to have their dad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of different motivations that come. But even with my son, I have to make sure that he sees the great relationship that me and my wife have. It's important for me to have a good attitude when I come home. It's important for me to talk to her a certain way. It's important for him to see me and her laugh and joke together. That's important because I'm his first teacher of relationships. I mean, you might not want that responsibility. Like Charles Barkley said, I'm not a role model. As a father, you ain't got no choice.
Right.
Everything you do in life as a father can be used as a blueprint for life. That's how my dad did it. That's how I'm going to do it. Well, you shouldn't say that. My dad said that, and I turned out all right. How many times we heard that?
Oh, yeah. A lot of times. A lot of times.
It's a good topic to talk about. I'm interested to see what people will comment and say.
Yeah, for
Keep
sure.
the conversation moving forward.
For sure.
Yeah. You got anything else?
I don't, sir.
All right. We thank you guys for listening to the Dad Roots podcast, and we want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, share. Let's get this word out there, guys. I know you guys are enjoying it. Let's share it with somebody else. And it's Mario E and Kid, and we're signing out. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules podcast with your hosts, Mario E and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.